And I'm going to start off with the first one, where you have a jam-packed cast and was probably the biggest movie of the week, besides the movie from a couple weeks ago that just passed $1 billion.
Yeah.
Kids aren't going to go see Super Mario, or they're going to go see Super Mario because they're not going to go see If Margaret Found God. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is the newest movie that I believe is going to begin the adaptations of all of the Judy Blume novels that are out there. We talked last week about the Sundance documentary about Judy Blume, where we felt it was very much a promo.
Yeah.
Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret feels like the first one that needs to hit in order to adapt all the other books and get the super-fledged cinematic universe. And personally,
Please.
I freaking loved it. I thought this was an incredible adaptation for the book. Obviously, it's not always going to do the book justice, but the essence of the book, I think they got it completely. How did you feel?
I was kind of blown away by this one. And, you told me that you actually read this book. I read
right.
Super Fudge, but I didn't get to Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret when I was younger. So the specifics of the story I was unfamiliar with, and I'm kind of blown away to see
Decent,
this
right?
covered in a kid's film, not to mention the way that it's handled. Obviously a lot of love has to be given to Judy Blume for the text upon which this is based, which is it so maturely handles the issues of growing up and, not necessarily becoming an adult, but becoming a bigger person in a way that doesn't necessarily talk down to kids. It talks on their level. So the text is obviously great, but Kelly Freeman Craig handles this so beautifully. I didn't realize until afterward that she's the director of Edge of 17. She clearly has just got a touch for this young adult drama.
She said she wrote a letter to Judy Blume and just broke down everything that the book meant to her and said, P.S., I wrote Edge of 17 in case that means anything. Turns out Judy Blume freaking loved that movie. That's what allowed them to click. She said she had Judy Blume on the set all the time in order to be able to create a lot of the sequences, getting her input on it. You have a good director when you're listening to her interviews and she makes you cry just talking about how much the book meant to her to adapt. All of that is on screen. I thought they killed it. She killed it. Everybody involved. It's the story of Margaret, who was raised by a family who has not chosen to impose either religion on her.
Yeah.
Her dad
she has
is
a similar
Jewish.
story to me in that the father's side's Jewish, the mother's side is Christian, and they've chosen no, you don't need any of that.
Almost to the point where they're like, you get to choose, but also you're not going to choose. And
exactly,
it creates an interesting dynamic because it's not obviously just the parents, but it's also the parents' parents. How do they get involved in that? And that's where you have a great just cast. The parents are fantastic because seeing Benny Safdie just continue to go outside of his directorial duties and do a lot of these just supporting performances. He's just so likable. Rachel McAdams obviously kills it because if you go back and reread the book, which I have it linked up ready to, because watching the movie, I was like, no, this is a parent's story just as much as it is the kid's story. And I loved her performance as the mom. Abby Ryder Fortson, do you remember where she was from in Marvel?
No, you have to remind me.
Ant-Man. They did her dirty and kicked her out.
She's one of the recast daughters.
She's Cassie, and they had the best thing going for them for 2 movies, and then they got rid of her. I understand she wasn't old enough for the new stuff, but nah, she is absolutely fantastic in this movie in the way that she almost switches between when she's talking to her parents, when she's talking to her friends, when she's talking to a teacher, but even, of course, when she's talking to herself, to God. I thought all of that just showcases how great of an actress she is.
Yeah,
Kathy Bates
it's the kind. Kathy Bates is great. Just
not
to,
fair.
yeah,
Talk some good stuff about the lead.
Exactly, just to give Abby a little bit more glow. The lead in these child stories is so important, and being able to sort of ride that line between naivete, but also not seeming completely clueless, just sort of being authentically opening up to the world. And not being cloying or too cutesy about it either. I just thought her performance was really, really excellent. Navigating all those moments in a way that feels authentic. Being able to sell that not being able to go to on a trip to Florida is the worst thing that could happen to you imaginable.
Yeah. Nah, I thought she was great in this movie. Everyone fires on all cylinders. I saw this with a group of elderly people to my left. the one dude who was a part of them was the one who ended up loving it the most. He was cackling,
Nice.
he was like laughing. I think I caught him crying a couple of times. So this
Mm-hmm.
hits on all cylinders. I don't think it matters what age you are. Obviously,
Absolutely
it's
not.
got like its spiritual, religious, tones to it. I recommend this movie to everybody. If this is, the start of a lot of her adaptations, then I think they're off to a good start. I hope that they get to Super Fudge, and they adapted with the same care that they did for this movie because, this was a blast. I took my whole family to see it, and I would highly, highly recommend it. If you get the chance to, this is one worth leaving the house to go see in theaters.
Yeah.
Recommend it as well?
Absolutely, and whether or not you are, as you mentioned, like of the age where it would
Or a girl.
resonate with you, I think, I think the other thing they did that's smart, from my understanding, is there was a lot less story involving the parents and the grandparents in the actual book. Like, it's really Margaret's POV, so the adults are kind of more unknowable. And I thought they gave Rachel McAdams a really like beautiful, heartwarming kind of arc in that she's really just trying her best in this role and struggling, and there's just that gap that mothers and daughters end up having. And I don't know, I thought the whole thing was really sweet. Rachel McAdams really, really great in it. I make this required viewing in schools. I don't know, man. I thought this was phenomenal.
So 2 thumbs up from the Intercut boys. I agree with Zach. Roll this out when y'all don't want to teach. It'll be teaching a lot more lessons. The next
we
up
got
is
a
definitely
comment.
not one.
I was going to just
What's up?
quickly mention, we got a comment on the live stream from Josh. Did you like it more than The Edge of 17? Because that is also a very lovely coming-of-age story.
All right. This one is rated PG-13. What is the rating on Edge of 17? Because that's the difference to me between both of these movies. Is that I feel one is definitely more... Yeah. I think that kind of answers it. Edge of 17 is rated R. And I think it's perfect for that demographic. I think this is one that you could definitely bring the whole family to, and it doesn't matter what age you are, it's going to hit. You probably need to be 17 to watch this one. This is the prequel to Edge of 17. That's how I put it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Both great.
I think
Both
they're
great.
pretty. I think they're honestly on a pretty equal level. I feel like maybe Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is better than more films of its like age range, right? Like it's one of the best preteen coming of age stories I've seen. And I love Edge of 17 as well, but yeah, it's just ultimately for a different demographic. It's a little more adult. And I really respect how they were able to do Margaret, even the period elements of it, which put it in a time and place, but don't make it feel dated. It still feels very resonant today.
Fantastic. Kelly Freeman Craig, 2 for 2 in my books.